Hello, Zach here of Sumitomo. Have you heard of Cloudflare? They recently had an outage on November 18th, 2025 for 3 full hours. 3 full hours for a cloud platform is crazy. You lost access to services such as X, Canva, and ChatGPT. Now that might make you wonder, should you put your own services on Cloudflare? Well, we're going to talk a little bit about that. Cloudflare is a smaller fish in a big pond. It might not have all those features of, say, AWS or Azure, but they specialize in content delivery at the edge. That means lower latency and faster loading for your users, and oftentimes it can be a little bit cheaper if it has all the features you need. Cloudflare has been migrating all their services to Rust over the last few years. Now maybe you've heard of Rust in the news and how it's related to the incident that happened. Rust has been maturing a lot over the last 10 years. You've been seeing it more and more different places. Very recently, Microsoft's talking about converting all of their C and C++ code to Rust. But is this the reason that the service went down? Should you have concerns about putting your mission critical application onto Cloudflare? Should you be wary of using Rust in your future projects? Today, we're going to explore the reasons for why Cloudflare went down. Should you still consider using Rust, and if Cloudflare is appropriate for your application? Is your mission critical application okay on Cloudflare? Well, this is Zachary Dovell of Sumitomo, and this video is, should you consider using Cloudflare for your mission critical application? Let's do this. So was Rust, a programming language, really at fault for the outage of Cloudflare? I would say it isn't quite that simple. It's a bit like a nuclear reactor having a meltdown where all the different safety checks have that 1 in a million chance of failing at the same time, but do, and havoc just all breaks loose. Now, one of the strengths of Rust is that it can help to reduce programming errors. You might have heard about something called an unwrapped statement. What that basically means is when a value is okay, returns not as an error, it'll just pass through. But if an error comes to it, it'll throw an exception and your whole program will crash. In general, if this is what you are intending, this is not a bad thing. It can help to prevent weird, strange state from being in the system and causing weird errors and unexpected behavior. So why did this happen then? Cloudflare covered this on their blog, where they're converting all their services slowly to Rust. They have a proxy service called FL, and they have a new version of the proxy service written in Rust called FL2. Now, they have their different reasons for why there was this failure, but as a software engineer, as you read it, they're fixing bugs in the FL service in FL2 as they're going along. And what happens is if you have two services working differently, and they're both still running, is they're not going to be compatible with each other. So there was some bug in the database, which ended up creating a different version of the configuration files for their whole system. Those propagated through their network, and what happened was the FL2 failed while the FL1 did not, because they were different. And that is honestly the biggest thing you want to avoid when you're rewriting a system, is you want them to be fully compatible until you can finally deprecate the old system. So that was unfortunate, and because of this difference, it took them much longer than it should have to debug why the problem was there, so 3 hours. Reason number 2 they failed is they had these configuration files and they had asserts on what they should be coming in as, but they didn't have any tests on the configuration files themselves to make sure they actually fit the format that they support. So having an error propagate through the system in that way was only a matter of time. And issue number 3 is, now Rust you can use unwrap, and if it's supported in the system, that's great. It makes a lot of sense for CLI programs, etc. But an even better option is to properly handle the errors, maybe pass a warning to the logs, but not fatally die. There's a good chance that would have helped to mitigate the issues with Cloudflare, where yes, they would have gotten issues and warnings and all that on their systems, but people would have still been able to visit web pages without having it all be down for 3 hours on those big services like ChatGPT, X, etc. As an engineer looking at Cloudflare, I think they just had too many things going on. They were creating a new system, they were updating their configurations, and sometimes just all of these things at once will sometimes not align and perfectly screw each other up. That is the other big takeaway, is do not try to do too much at once in software engineering. Don't rewrite a whole code base, do things in pieces, and make your changes and verify that they're working before making other changes. In conclusion, Cloudflare is a great platform. You shouldn't be afraid of moving away from it. They're going to increase the testing and make sure this kind of thing does not happen again. And these kind of code rewrites only happen on every few blue moons. Cloudflare will lower your costs, it has better latency, and if you don't need all those services that AWS has or Azure, it might be the best thing for your business. Don't be afraid of Rust. Do not be afraid of Cloudflare. Stick with them if they're right for you. Should you use Cloudflare to host your mission-critical applications? Yes, you should. This is Zach of Sumitomo. Thank you for watching. Have a good one.